Recording in progress.
Your work can feel much smoother with Monday.com.
Hello Ateneans! To ensure a smooth running webinar for both the speaker and the audience, please be reminded of these following house rules. Number 1. For the entire duration of the webinar, kindly turn off or mute your microphones to avoid interrupting the presenter. Number 2. Be on time. Once you have joined the Zoom session, please refrain from leaving and attend the entire duration of the webinar. Number 3. To raise your queries, you may type them in the chat box of the platform you are using. Kindly refrain from posting comments unrelated to the topic. Number 4. The moderator will be acknowledging your questions and directing them to our speakers during the open forum. Number 5. When participating in the open forum, be mindful of your background and your background noise. Number 6. We will be releasing the link of the evaluation form at the end of the webinar. Number 7. Please note that we will only be issuing e-certificates to those who have registered, confirmed attendance, and completely filled out the evaluation form. Number 8. Use your real name and follow the prescribed format for proper documentation, if any. Number 9. Unless you are permitted by the organizer, please do not record any part of the webinar. And number 10, please give us a week to prepare your e-certificate to be sent via email. Thank you and enjoy the webinar.
Hello there, Athenians! Welcome to your chosen alternative class program or ACP webinar or workshop this semester. Let me refresh your memory on what ACP is all about. The ACP is conducted every semester to provide the college students with formative opportunities outside of their regular classroom routine or daily schedule in support of the university's uniquely Jesuit educational goals. Carefully selected resource speakers from different fields of specialization are invited to share their knowledge, skills, and inspire students to nurture their personal development and partake in social advocacies or causes. For the third online ACP during this pandemic, we continue with the theme Cannonballs, Firing Up Dreams, Courage, Action. This theme is inspired by the conversion of Saint Ignatius of Loyola, founder of the Society of Jesus. Just as Saint Ignatius was hit by a cannonball which altered his life and drew him to a greater calling, this ACP hopes to light up the university's call for students to have dreams, discern on how these dreams contribute to one's personal improvement and the common good, muster courage, and find ways to accomplish these dreams. To do this, ACP offerings are carefully chosen to be relevant to the current times, formative, and mission-driven. The webinars and e-workshops hope to start a conversation on one's life in the pandemic, the changes and transitions, and important events like the national and local elections. The online sessions endeavor to facilitate personal and even community reflection and discernment. Who knows? These virtual activities could fire up meaningful cannonball moments in you, dear students. At the end of the webinars and workshops, the ACP hopes for the following objectives. First, acquire knowledge and/or skills that are relevant to one's interest, talent, skill, passion, and advocacy. Second, relate or share the learning and insight gained from the topic or activity in conversation or dialogue and personal reflection. Third, examine the importance of one's interest, talent, skill, passion, and advocacy to the development of the society. And fourth, seek ways or opportunities by which the gained knowledge and skills can be further advanced and used for the benefit of the immediate organization, community, or larger society.
Dream, have courage, take action. And don't forget to learn and have fun while we experience ACP Ateneans.
Magic's afternoon, everyone.
Welcome to another installment of this semester's alternative class program. So you are attending the ACP entitled Lessons from the Pandemic, Reinventing Face-to-Face Habits and Transitioning to Hybrid Learning. I am Jackie Louwen Cestina. You can call me Ate Jackie, and I am so honored to be with you all this afternoon. So yan, before we jumpstart the event, I have some questions lang for all of you. So yan, chika-chika muna tayo. Ngayon, ang gagawin natin is kukumustahin ko muna kayo. After more than 2 years of being in this pandemic and given the improvement in the situation that we are now experiencing, kamusta po kayo? So to answer the question, you may go to the Mentimeter site that is flashed in the screen and with link shared on the chat. So the code is 4027-6085. Again, the code is 4027-6085. So yan, what is one word that best describes how you are feeling today? So yan, ano ka ba? Inaantok ka ba? Or masaya ka ba? Or pagod ka na? So yan, tawag dito, lagay nyo lang yung answer nyo dyan and I will read them for you. So yan, ngayon, we are now seeing some of your answers, no? Okay, so yan, overwhelmed daw, pagod na, bangag. Stress, gutom, hindi pa yata nag-lunch to. Flabbergasted, wow, big word. Pagod so much, oh my God. Lazy but fighting, at tawag dito, ang pinaka-common is yung sleepy. So, galaw-galaw muna tayo, guys. Alam ko, 3 o'clock, natutulog talaga, pero this webinar will be fun, I assure you guys. And we have activities na, talagang mag-enjoy kayo. So, anxious, exhausted. Guys, pahinga din pag may time, ha? So, yan. Okay, salamat for your cooperation, Ateneans. Mukhang exhausted Ateneans. Okay. Indeed, the pandemic nga has been taken into our own journeys of struggles as well as triumphs. We have experienced natin yung changes after changes, diba, in many aspects of our lives, as well as transitions in our mode of learning. Dati, pure online learning lang tayo, diba? Ngayon, hybrid na. Ngayon naman, I would just like to ask, sino na sa atin ang may face classes na this semester? Pa-thumbs up naman. Click the reaction button na lang sa ating yung like, ha? Okay, so ayan, ang dami na pala. Sino yung guys, thumbs up kung sino yung mga nag-face-to-face classes na ngayon. Okay, marami nang nag-face-to-face classes. Okay, ayan, thank you guys for cooperating again. And I believe ngayon we are now preparing for hybrid learning by next semester. And today, we are very fortunate to have with us the director of the Ateneo de Manila University Office of Student Activities, Mr. Ralph Jacinto A. Quiblat, who will help us recall or reflect on the lessons that we have learned during the pandemic and kung paano natin ma-reinvent ang ating face-to-face classes or habits when we go back to the campus for our classes. So, ayan, a few reminders lang sa ating mga participants here in the Zoom meet, and to those who are watching live on our YouTube, please turn off your microphones unless told to speak para naman hindi natin ma-distract ang ating speaker and mga fellow participants. And if you can turn on your cameras, please do so po. We would very much appreciate it if we'll see your magaganda and guwapo faces. And if may mga questions or comments naman kayo relative to the presentation of the speaker or the topic, we sent the Google Form link po during the start of the talk of the speaker so that may time naman kayo to prepare your questions and accomplish the Google Form. Ayan, sinenda ni Ate Sai ang ating Google Form link. So, pwede niyo na po yan answeran. And you can also send them on our Zoom chat box later. And please do not hesitate to type your messages later, ha? And live din tayo sa ating official Adno sa YouTube channel. So sa ating mga viewers from YouTube, please feel free to participate through the comments section. I will be reading your questions and comments later sa ating open forum. Okay, we encourage you all po to take part in the open forum later. Ngayon naman, here's an important reminder. To ensure na marireceive nyo ang inyong mga e-certificates for participating in this event, please accomplish the evaluation form given at the end of this webinar. So we hope that these guidelines are clear, and we hope you are all ready and excited as we are to start and gain essential insights from this ACP topic. So now, may I invite everyone to settle down and feel the presence of the Lord for the opening prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Prayer for our nation during the COVID-19 pandemic and the upcoming national and local elections. Almighty God, Lord of the universe, and Creator of everything, we come to you seeking your mercy, divine protection, and your will for us to confront the COVID-19 pandemic and the forthcoming national and local elections, to choose the national and local leaders of our country. Merciful and compassionate Father, we confess our sins, and we humbly come to you to find forgiveness and life. We come to you in our need, begging to halt the current COVID-19 pandemic, healing for those afflicted, strength, courage, competence, compassion, and protection to health workers who care for them, eternal salvation and peace for those who died. And throughout this tribulation, may our families and communities be consoled and comforted by your merciful love. We pray that you guide the people tasked to find cures for this disease and to stem its transmission. Bless our efforts to use the medicine developed to end the pandemic in our country. We also pray that the forthcoming national and local elections may truly reflect your will, O Lord, who guides the destinies of nations. We beg you to deliver us, Lord, from coercion, intimidation, violence, and terrorism, from dishonesty, lies, and all distortion of truth, from bribery, graft, and all conspiracy for fraud, from gullibility to the deceptive and blindness of perspective, from threats, intimidation, and perverse language. Lord our God, we beg you to give us the grace of a discerning heart in choosing the next set of national and local leaders in the forthcoming elections. Let our conscience be our ultimate norm. Let the common good be our highest goal. Let human dignity be respected all the time. Let the poor and the weak always have the priority. Let the care for creation be our utmost priority. Let solidarity guide the path of peace and development. Let genuine fear of God and love of neighbors guide those who seek public office. Shepherd of souls and Savior of the nations, politics is your gift to us, a call to serve others and grow in holiness. Guide our politics as you guide our lives. May our political engagement for voters and candidates bring glory to your loving name and help us grow in holiness. Grant all these through the intercession of Ina, our Blessed Mother, and our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son, who lives and reigns with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, God, forever and ever. Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So thank you so much, Father Celerino Ignacio Reyes, SJ, for that heartwarming prayer, and Jack Ivan Odal for the recording. So to those who have just recently joined us on Zoom and sa mga nanonood po sa atin sa Adnoa sa YouTube channel, magandang hapon po. Once again, this is the ACP webinar you have chosen to attend, Lessons from the Pandemic, Reinventing Face-to-Face Habits and Transitioning to Hybrid Learning. Now, without further ado, it is with great pleasure to introduce to you our distinguished guest speaker for this afternoon. So, Mr. Ralph Jacinto Quiblat is a speaker and a motivational coach focusing mainly on design thinking, creativity, organization, and leadership formation. He has a wide experience in organization development, having done training and consultancy work for over 10 years. Speaking from his experience that spans from the time he was a student leader at the Ateneo de Manila University to heading Innova Unlimited Solutions Incorporated, a consulting and organization development company, to his years of service as formator at the Ateneo de Manila University, Tats, as his friends call him, is on a mission to engage, train, and develop the people, especially the youth, including those tasked to form the youth, using his expertise in organization development, design thinking, and leadership formation. Sir Tats is also a writer. He has written several full-length Filipino films that had a wide commercial releases in the Philippines. Sir Tats is also the co-owner of Breaking Bread Coffee and Sandwiches, a coffee shop that proudly supports the local coffee industry in the Philippines. Currently, apart from doing executive coaching for business leaders, Sir Tats serves as the director of the Office of Student Activities at the Loyola Schools of the Ateneo de Manila University. He also teaches a course on discerning life questions for senior college students at the Ateneo de Manila University. Everyone, with pride and gratitude, let us all welcome and give him a big round of virtual applause, Mr. Ralph Jacinto A. Quiblat. So, sir, good afternoon, Sir Tats. Are you here
Hi,
na
good
po ba?
afternoon, everyone.
Hi, sir. Hello po.
Hi. Okay, shall we begin?
Hello po. Ay, sir.
Hi, can you hear me?
Sure, sir. Yes po, sir. Audible po.
All right. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so happy to be back here. I would like to thank Sir Sunny and the rest of the entire OSA team for inviting me again. It seems like it was just yesterday when I was invited to give a talk on transitioning towards a life away from the campus to a life lived in the pandemic. And here we are, now going back naman to our life, this time transitioning back to probably an on-site learning, but also a hybrid form of learning. So I'm Tats, you can call me Tats, and throughout today's presentation, I would like to hopefully bring you into a reflection on what has been happening for the past 2 years of the pandemic and how we can be able to bring these lessons to moving forward to our life in the better normal, in the new normal, so to speak. Okay. All right. So this session was given to me entitled Lessons from the Pandemic, Reinventing Our Face-to-Face Habits and Transitioning to Hybrid Learning. But I would like to call it a Silver Linings Playbook. A playbook for the new world, for the better normal that we are facing. Silver linings because despite the 2 years of being probably locked down and almost going crazy in the confines of our rooms, there seems to be a silver lining behind the dark cloud of the last 2 years now. So I don't know, I just borrowed it from the movie and the book Silver Linings Playbook. It talks about finding the good things despite the many things that are negatively affecting our lives. So, all right. I shall divide my presentation into 4 parts. First, I would like to talk about transition. As we transition into the new world, into probably a better new normal. We will also be talking about how the transition is going to affect every aspect of our being. And then we'll go into, I'll be speaking from my experience with Ateneo de Manila University and our OSA's whole student approach as we work with them in transitioning towards a hybrid learning or a flexible learning. And then we'll go a little deeper into the lessons from the pandemic just to bridge that towards moving forward. So we'll end our session today with some pabaon on how we can actually move forward without looking back. Move forward and leave the pandemic behind. Although, just a caveat, we are still very much in the pandemic. The virus is still out there. Although the DOH have, the people in the DOH have stopped reporting the daily cases, we are still very much in the pandemic. Our neighboring countries and some other nations all over the world are still very much gripped by the pandemic. And there might be some false sense of confidence because we see people going into rallies and we see people not doing social distancing anymore. But let us not forget that the virus is still out there. We are just trying to learn to live with it. But hopefully, despite our best efforts to try to learn to live with it, we are still very much cautious and are still practicing our social distancing protocols and our necessary health and safety protocols. All right, so that said, let's begin. I am very much overwhelmed by the number of people who turned out for today's session. Thank you very much to our 400 plus strong participants for this session. And that would mean, hopefully, we will have a very lively discussion on your experience in the last 2 years of the pandemic. I was looking at the answers shared by the Mentimeter earlier, and people are overwhelmed. People are tired. May nagsabi na ayaw na niya sa calculus. Tama ba yun? Yaw ko na sa calc. Meron ding mga nagsabing gutom sila, pagod. Meron ding miss ko na siya. Meron ding miss ko na si X. Ayan, may mga ganon. Hopefully, pag X na. So, pag tapos na yung pandemic, tapos na. Isipin natin na si X ay parang pandemic. Tapos na tayo doon. May dahilan kung bakit nagtapos yon. Lumipat na tayo sa bagong bahay. Nasa bagong mundo na tayo. Ayan. Pag X na. Diba? Huwag na itanong kung why. Tapos na yon. Yun yung dahilan kung bakit ang pag-uusapan natin ngayong hapon ay transitioning. Kaya ako binanggit yung nag-comment kung sino ka man. Salamat sa comment mo na miss ko na si X. Kasi our topic today is all about transitioning. And transitioning requires significant reorganization. Sa inyo siguro have experience breaking up with people in our lives. You all need to go through a certain transition. Hindi naman biglang pagising mo, okay na ang lahat. Transitioning from getting used to a life being lived with that person, you have to go through a phase of trying to find out how to rearrange elements of your life. Because that's what transitioning is all about. After all, we would not spring clean the house without first taking out and rearranging the furniture. So why should it be different for us? Okay. So in other words, if you are one of those who are lucky enough to have experienced a breakup and are therefore experienced in the process of transitioning from a bad experience, from a breakup, from a heartbreak towards, facing the light and starting over again and being able to gather enough energy to start over, then you know what transition means. But then that would also mean that you already know how it means to transition, to rearrange, to get used to a lot of things. Again, sasanayin mo na naman ang mga sarili mo sa mga bagong bagay. kikilala ka na naman ng mga bagong tao, rearrange the furnitures, kumbaga, in your life. Rearrange the elements of your life because that's what transitioning is all about. We need to rearrange the furniture of our thinking, the furniture of our beliefs and models in order to welcome in the new arrangements. Diba? Sabi nila, when do you know that you have moved on? Ayan. Ang sagot ko doon, you know when you've moved on, when you have already formed new habits and you are ready to accommodate new experiences. Yun naman yun. Handa ka nang dumanas ulit, di ba? You are now ready to rearrange the things in your life. Yung iba, they go through what we call a burning session. Yung mga sinusunog yung mga lumang gamit, sinusunog yung mga, sabi nga ni, what sparks joy, di ba? Ang iniiwan lang ang mga bagay na patuloy na nagpapasaya. Yung mga negative energy, mga baggage, wala na. Some people literally, physically rearrange their houses, their rooms para may new energy. For the people, parang nagsispring cleaning talaga. They go through their closet, tinatanggal yung mga damit na hindi na ginagamit. The golden rule daw is kung hindi mo nagamit within a span of 1 year, i-donate mo na yan sa iba kasi baka magamit nila. So, transitioning is all of this. It's looking at the past and looking forward and saying to yourself, I'm now trying to accommodate new experiences. Kaya naman tayo minsan nahihirapan mag-transition to a new phase because we can't let go of the fact na kailangan nating bitawan yon kasi nga kailangan nating mag-accommodate ng new experience. Just like what we're experiencing in the pandemic. Some of us are slowly transitioning towards adjusting to hybrid learning, to on-site hybrid classes. But some are having a difficulty because we are still not ready. Yung iba, sanay na sanay pa sa Zoom, yung hindi nagbibihes pang labas, ma-attend ng classes in their pajamas, in their, pag hindi naman nagte-turn on ng camera, o ano lang ang pambahay, etc. Minsan, you go through an all-day class na hindi naliligo or hindi man lang nagsusuklay, etc. It's because we are in the comforts of our home. And some of us, we need to be, pried out of our clasp of the comfort of what the pandemic and remote learning did to us para nakakapanibago ang may mga tao na ulit sa paligid, may mga kasama ka na ulit sa classroom, etc. So, transitioning, just like, moving on from a terrible ex, it requires dealing with a potential discomfort. And that is actually the biggest first stumbling block. A lot of us don't want to deal with the potential discomfort and the responsibility of taking care of the change. The thing that we need to remember is we have to get up and be responsible to take care of the consequences of the change. Nagbago eh. So hindi pwedeng hayaan mo na lang na ma-stuck yung sarili mo sa nakaraan, nagbabago na ang lahat. Hindi ka sumasabay kasi hindi mo hinahayaan yung sarili mo to handle the potential discomfort. And a lot of people are afraid of the potential discomfort. That's one of our fatal fears. Finding ourselves in potentially awkward and discomfortable situations. But nothing happens if we don't step out of our comfort zone. Because the status quo, the comfort zone is debilitating. It will slowly eat us up. Eventually, you'll realize, nagsasayang ka ng oras, panahon, na hiniram lang natin at hindi infinite. Okay? Limited number of days, limited amount of energy. So if we don't do the things that we're supposed to do now, just because we are afraid of the potential discomfort, then nothing's gonna happen. One day you'll wake up, you're 40 or 50, and then you'll realize, what have I done with my life? I was stuck in the pandemic. Nag-move on na lahat ng 2022, 2030 na, nasa 2022 ka pa din. So, again, the first lesson of the transition is to embrace the potential discomfort. Hayaan ng ano ba yung discomfort? Yung hindi maging okay ng konti, di ba? Parang ganun talaga, may tinatawag tayo na birthing pains, yung the pain of the novel, the pain of the new. Dahil may mga bago kang bagay na sinusubukan, hindi naman agad-agad komportable at magaling ka na doon. The first thing that you have to accept is to be comfortable with the potential discomfort. Diba? Parang dating, initially, nagkakakilala muna, hindi naman agad click na kayo or vibe na kayo agad. Minsan talaga kailangan mag-effort pang magsalita, minsan awkward dahil walang naunang magsalita sa first date or something. May mga ganun potential discomfort. But as soon as we're able to find ourselves managing the potential discomfort and changing it and finding comfort in it, then the transition and the transformation can begin. What are we transitioning to? We are transitioning to a new world. Kaya ko talaga ikinatuwa nung may nagbanggit ng miss na si X kanina sa Mentimeter because technically, yun yung ginagawa natin ngayon. We are transitioning to a new world. Isang mundong wala na si X. A world that can no longer go back to how it was pre-pandemic, but neither should it go back to it anyway. Hindi na natin kayang balikan ang mundo natin bago pa man ginulo at dinisrupt tayo ng pandemic. But hindi naman kasi natin kailangan bumalik doon. Sabi ko nga, pag X na. There's, nobody is worth crying twice over. Diba? Anong ibig sabihin nun? Wala namang sigurong worthy iyakan 2 beses. Iyakan mo 1 beses. Pangalawang beses siguro, sige, weak ka lang. Pero pangatlo, pang-4, pang-5, ay, iba na yon, di ba? Insanity na yon because insanity is doing something, the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Di ba? So, the world of pre-pandemic is gone. The world of the pandemic is also slowly fading away, but what it's leaving us are the lessons. And so, as we transition into this new world, I would like you to capitalize and be aware that while being enormously disruptive and painful, the pandemic, we have to accept, the pandemic hastened the emergence of great common purpose, solidarity, creativity, improvisation among us. I hope you were able to notice that people are suddenly getting into things that before they didn't have time for. People are now suddenly creative and are more daring. People have even shifted careers. People have acquired new skills all throughout the pandemic, have connected with people. I have best friends I have not been in contact with for 20 years, and throughout the pandemic we started talking almost every week, and then I have started adopting certain habits and hobbies and getting into things that I never thought I would, like watching horror movies and or becoming a plantito or learning new skills like fishing and many other things. So while it was disruptive, to say the least, we have to acknowledge that it pushed us and it quickened the process for us to immediately be courageous. And I think that's also wonderfully exemplified by the metaphor of having someone break your heart, of having someone yung si X nga, di ba, tapos na. While sinira ka niya at ginuho niya ang buong mundo mo at iniyakan mo siya at akala mo hindi mo na kayang mabuhay, you have to be aware and you have to acknowledge and realize the fact that it actually pushed you to be a better person. It actually pushed you to be better at things, doing things on your own, to be courageous enough to try new things and to get to know new people and to pay attention to things that you never paid attention to. Minsan kasi sobrang nasasanay tayo na nandyan siya, na nakakaligtaan natin ng maraming bagay. When, in fact, we thought we were actually attaching our dreams to a star, what happened was we were attaching our dreams to the person. Okay? And as soon as the person left, feeling natin nawala yung pangarap. Na mali, kasi ang pangarap hindi sa tao natin kinakabit. Diba? Pangarap natin yun. It's good to pursue our own dreams. And if in the process we meet someone who will support us in those dreams, then better. Diba? Gawin natin yung kailangan gawin para sa sarili, para ayan, may nag-react. Para kung may dumating man sa buhay natin, at least, di ba, dumating siya habang busy tayong inaabot ang ating mga pangarap. Pangarapin ang pangarap, hindi ang tao. Kasi, kung dumating man ang tao, at least tupad ang pangarap. Kung ang tao ang pinapangarap, pinabayaan ang pangarap, pag nawala yung tao, saan ka pupulutin? Di ba? And so we are transitioning to a new world. And with that, to realize a new movement. And we have to accept that what is emerging now, ikaw, kilalanin mo sa sarili mo, what is emerging is a more dynamic approach to doing things. You have to give yourself some credit that you are now more dynamic and accepting and courageous to work, to do social activities, and even to our mission-related strategies. You have to be aware of that dynamism. Right. What will help us better understand this transition as a process, no? We have to look into the different phases. Again, sa mga nakaranas ng masaktan, iniwan, at hindi na binalikan, sabi nga ni President Nadine, pag mahal ka, babalikan ka. Dun sa mga iniwan, sinaktan at hindi na binalikan, you might be very familiar of the phases of transition. First, you have to identify an adjustment period and piloting. Ibig sabihin, piloting means you have to try new things, whether for the first time or again in a long time. So you have to adjust, and that's where the initial potential discomfort will be. All these things, adjusting to a hybrid learning, you have classes online, you have classes on campus, and then how to manage your time, how to study for online lessons, how to study for on-site classes. You now have interaction with an actual teacher in the classroom, interaction with a teacher online, etc. So a lot of new skills and you getting used to have to be placed into the picture. And you have to admit, am I doing everything I can during this adjustment period? We are still in the adjustment period. We are still in the pilot part of doing things again. Kumbaga, relearning. Di ba? Kaka-break up mo lang with the pandemic, sinira niya yung buhay mo, ngayon sinusubukan mo ulit tumayo sa sarili mong paa. So you're trying to new things. Ano ba yung mga bagay na sinusubukan natin ulit mag-isa? Di ba? Pag galing ka sa isang relationship, kumain mag-isa, gumising na walang nag-good morning, walang nag-good night, walang humahawak sa kamay mo habang tumatawid, mga ganun ba? Walang kasamang manood ng sine. But again, this is just adjustment period and you are piloting things. And throughout the adjustment period and throughout the piloting things, this is where we learn to reskill and to find our strengths in things that maybe we have taken for granted and have forgotten because of the pandemic. Kailangan masanay ulit tayong maggising ng umaga, magbihis, magluto, mag-breakfast, mag-commute, pumunta sa school, gamitin ulit ang ating navigational skills, etc. Mag-budget ng pera that will include pamasahe, pang-snacks, yung mga pang-shopping, etc. etc. So, hindi na online, pwede na ulit may mga kaakibat na gastos na kailangang paggastosan. So, we are still in the adjustment period of transitioning back, piloting new things. And I hope you're able to list down the things that you are trying again for the first time or trying for the first time, you know. And then it might take a while for us to adjust, especially with a very uncertain movement of the protocols related to the pandemic, no. Hindi natin alam what's going to happen tomorrow. Hindi natin alam what's going to happen after elections, what's going to happen in June. Will everything go back to normal? There's There's a surge that they are speaking of that might come or might not come, but it's devastating our neighboring countries. So it's still very uncertain. The world is still very volatile. And so we don't know how long we will be adjusting in this new life, how long we will be trying to get used to a lot of new things again. But as soon as we move past the adjustment period, then the formation of new habits begin and addressing the pain points that is related to forming new habits. How do we form habits? Sabi nila, if you repeat something more than 21 times consistently, it becomes a habit. But in a general sense, no, just the habit of doing things over and over again every day and getting used to the new things. Nasanay nga tayo na biglang Zoom lahat ng mga kailangan natin gawin. Nasanay tayo na we order our groceries online or yung mga shopping needs natin online. Nasanay tayo of a different timeline during the day. Yung pag-pacing natin sa sarili natin, etc. Hindi ko alam kung kayo rin ba nahirapang matulog all throughout the pandemic. My circadian rhythm was so messed up. Hindi na pareho yung oras ng pagtulog, pagising, iba-iba, etc. Maybe because anxiety was there and the discomfort of the pandemic and the virus-induced anxiety is there. So medyo magulo. But now, after going through an adjustment period, after some time, we will begin to form new habits. And I would like you to be very deliberate about the habits that you form. And be aware of what goodness it brings into your life, because you might be starting habits that may not be beneficial to you. How do you know if these habits are not beneficial to you? It highlights your pain points. Ibig sabihin, yung mga dating nahihirapan ka, mas lalong humihirap. Yung mga dating masakit, lalong sumasakit. Diba? It highlights the negative things. It highlights the pain points. It doesn't make you feel better as a human being. In other words, how do you know if your habit that you're forming is good for you? It is life-giving. Okay? Ibig sabihin, it gives you a better perspective about life. It makes you feel like you are becoming and you are wanting to be a better person. And it addresses certain pain points in your life. Eventually, farther down the road, after the adjustment period and then forming new habits and addressing the pain points, hopefully we'll arrive at adjusted metrics, adjusted indicators. Maybe we calibrate the way we set our goals, calibrate our dreams. Like I've told you, I know a lot of people who shifted dreams and shifted careers and realized that they wanted more time with their family, they wanted more time traveling, they wanted more time with people that give them life and joy instead of spending time with people who are toxic and negative and drains out their energy. So maybe you can spend time addressing and calibrating your metrics, your standards, your benchmarks, the people that you measure your life against, So maybe the entire pandemic has allowed you to reposition yourself and recalibrate the way you want to measure what gives life meaning. In other words, maybe you now have a different idea of what makes sense. Okay. So what's helpful here? To simplify everything, it's really just a process of ready, aim, fire. Ready, aim, fire is such a beautiful process because some people, halang ang sikmura, walang takot, fire agad. Fire, and then bahala na kung anong mangyari, that's when they ready, aim. Medyo expensive yung ganong process. Walang adjustment period, walang habit forming, talagang go. That's expensive. Some people, they aim, they fire, pero hindi pala handa. Diba? Kumbaga, nakatutok na, kinalabit na yung gatilyo, only to realize, wala pala siyang bala. Kasi hindi naghanda. Okay? Aim, fire, ready. Some people, ito yung frustrating kasi nakapag-adjust, nag-pilot, nag-form ng habits, pero hanggang doon lang. Ready, aim. And then walang ginawa. Di ba nakaka-frustrate? Kasi alam mong kaya naman nila, naghanda naman sila, pero sa takot, hindi sumipa. Ready, aim lang. Ready, aim. Okay. Yung iba naman, ready, fire. Pero walang pagtutok, walang adjustment, walang new habits, walang discernment na nangyari. So handa, sumabog, pero hindi pala nakatuon sa tama, hindi tama yung metrics, walang tamang energy na ipinasok, etc. So the process really is ready, aim, fire. Take stock of what you have, aim, adjust your focus, and then go at it. All right. The inability to fire is not just laziness. Minsan hindi lang dahil tamad ka. Meron kanina sa Mentimeter nagsabi, tinatamad na. Actually, if you go down another level of your laziness, you will realize that it's all rooted in fear. Ang daming tinatamad kasi ang kaibuturan talaga ng katamaran ay takot. Okay. Kasi nagsisipag naman tayo sa mga tamang bagay kung sa tingin natin tama, di ba? Hindi tayo tamad, takot siguro. Because sabi nga nung isang professor ko ng college, sabi niya, wag nating itanong kung mahirap. Itanong natin kung mahalaga. Kasi kung mahalaga, kahit mahirap, kinakaya. Di ba? Kung tinatamad ka, pero nakita mong mahalaga and it makes sense to you, lalabanan mo yung takot. Di ba? So hindi ka tamad, takot ka. Kasi kung alam mo lang kung gaano kahalaga yung mga bagay na kailangan mong gawin, hindi ka tatamarin. Walang taong tamad sa mga bagay na dapat mahalaga at tumutungo sa bawat hangarin. Di ba? Ang tamad, nagsisikap at sinisipag sa mga bagay na mahalaga para sa kanya. So kung tinatamad ka, kailangan mong hanapin kung mahalaga pa ba siya sa iyo. Kasi kung hindi naman na siya mahalaga sa iyo, tanungin mo sarili mo, dapat ba mahalaga siya sa iyo? Kung hindi naman, then sige, tamarin ka. Gumawa ka ng ibang bagay. Put your energy somewhere else. But if it's important to you and you feel like it's causing you a lot of laziness because you're not giving it enough importance, then that's when discernment should come in. All right. So let me just share with you. I'll now be talking from my experience in handling our transition at the Loyola schools in Ateneo de Manila University, specifically handling our student formation. And in our team, I implement, and maybe your OSA, Sina Sir Sani, is also very familiar with this. We look at the whole student approach. In other words, when we deal with formation, when we deal with programming for the students, we look at all the possible aspects of our student life. And this would mean we need to ensure that each student is healthy, safe, engaged, supported, and challenged, and adopts an overarching goal of long-term development and success. What does this mean? Very simple, in that order. Okay, the way we manage our transition, the way we planned our going back into our piloting period, our adjustment period, is by looking at these 5 criteria, by its 5 factors, and in this order. Okay, first, we needed to make sure that everyone is healthy. We needed to make sure that we put in enough effort in the structures, protocols, policies, in the things that would benefit them to make sure that our students, our colleagues, our employees, our formators, even their families and parents are healthy. That's the very basic. Because we are in the middle of a pandemic and transitioning to a post-pandemic normal, a post-pandemic reality. We need to make sure that structures, policies are there to make sure that everyone is in tip-top shape. Everyone is healthy. Kasi all the rest will not mean anything if you guys are not healthy, are not 100% in terms of your health, are not vaccinated, are not boosterized, are not in your 100% to engage with the programs that we will offer. So, ito ang una nating focus. Maybe some of you are student leaders here, some of you are engaged with your organization, or some of you are dealing with your family situation. This is my first point that I'd like to share with you. First, make sure everyone's healthy. Make sure that everyone has access to medicine and testing, and that everyone can be sustainably provided with healthcare and other provisions. Malinaw yon? Okay? Make sure na mahalaga, healthy, malusog, okay ang lahat. Okay. Now that we have taken care of everyone's health, then safety comes in. Because na-sure na natin na healthy sila, okay sila, kailangan mapanatili natin yung health nila. We have to make sure that everyone is safe, that everyone is taken care of, that we have policies, procedures, protocols, structures to ensure that they will not be harmed, that they will not be put in the way of danger, that nothing's gonna hurt them. Okay. Although this is not 100% foolproof, there will always be things that will challenge our safety protocols, but at least we do our 100% due diligence, di ba? Hanggat kaya at pwedeng gawin, kaya at pwedeng gawin, di ba? We have ensured their health. Now we have to make sure that everyone's safe. So this is what we're doing. Healthy sila, kailangan gumawa tayo ng mga pamamaraan para mapanatiling safe sila, because this will also encourage them to be engaged later on, no? And so we'll also encourage their parents, their family, those they care about, to be engaged with us, because the first thing that we value is health, and together with health is their safety. And then, only then, when we have guaranteed the health and safety of everyone, only then we can bring our level of programming, design thinking, and intervention on a level of engagement. Saka pa lang natin sila hihikayating sumali, makilahok, di ba, makisama, to engage with us once we have ensured health and safety. Nakakatuwa siguro kung nasa level na tayo ng engagement, because that would mean the basic health and safety protocols have been responded to and have been taken care of. This is then, only then can we allow our programs to engage the students. Okay. Now that we have engaged our students, we don't stop there, because every engagement is a responsibility. Every time we involve people's lives into our programming, every time we invite everyone to step into our circles, or every time tumitindig tayo at iniimbitahan natin ang bawat isa na tumindig sa tabi natin, it's a responsibility that whenever we invite people to engage with us, they have to be supported. In other words, we have to have mechanisms that allow them to be better at what they do, to be cared for, and to be responded to and attended upon. Okay. Hindi pwedeng sindihan mo lang yung mitsa at hayaan mo nang sumabog without taking care of the consequences. In other words, it's one thing to invite everyone to be healthy, and then ensure their safety, and then invite them to engage with you. We have to be able to support them. We have to be able to make sure that we stand with them, that their needs are provided for, and that we are responsible for the consequences of what we allow them to have, what we allow them to taste. Diba sabi nila, mag-ingat tayo sa pagbibigay ng mga bagay na hindi natin kayang panindigan. Kasi ibig sabihin nun, you're creating a need that you have no capacity to provide. Kung gumawa ka lang ng bagay na kakailanganin, pero hindi ka naglagay ng mga bagay to ensure na pag kinailangan na nila yon ay mabibigyan mo sila. Diba? Nakakainis yon, yung pinatikim ka pero hindi ka naman binigyan ng kakayahan na matutong hanapin saan pwedeng kunin yon pag sinimulan mo ng hanap-hanapin. Diba? May mga taong ganun eh. Yung mga pinatikim ka lang, tas nung tumikim ka naman, nawala na. At hindi mo na kayang alamin at hanapin kung saan nababaliw ka kasi gusto mo nang matikman at ngayon hinahanap-hanap mo pa. You are, sabi nga diba sa Little Prince, you are responsible for that which you tame. Kung meron kang ibibigay, sustainable dapat. Hindi pwedeng isang beses lang tapos na. Hindi yung ibig sabihin nun, tease lang yun, teaser. Di ba? Aawayin ka, nakakagalit yun, di ba? Kung meron kang ipapangakong ibibigay or kung meron kang dadalhin sa buhay ko, make sure that may sustainable way of accessing that. Otherwise, magiging problema yon pag hinanap-hanap ko at hindi naman pala kayang ibigay. So be responsible of what you create in terms of needs. Be responsible of ano yung pinapasanay mo sa ibang tao. Huwag kayong gumawa ng bagay na ikakasanay ng ibang tao sa inyo kung hindi mo kayang panindigan. Kasi pag nasanay yan at hinahanap-hanap niya sa iyo at wala ka, gumawa ka ng problema. At sakit ng ulo. At wala kang kwenta dahil sumira ka ng buhay. Diba? So health, safety, engagement, support, sustainability, in other words, but of course, patuloy ang ating paghamon. It doesn't mean that we engage with them and we support them and we sustain them. Doesn't mean that we don't challenge them. Okay, it's a spiral going upwards. We move around in circles, but we move upwards and onwards, diba? Upwards and onwards nga, diba? So patuloy ang paghamon. We challenge them to every day do something that scares them perhaps. Do something every day that scares you, whether it's crossing the street alone, eating at a restaurant alone, wearing your favorite color, or, you know, if you have not experienced wearing pink your entire life, then maybe for one day, try to do it. If you have not experienced raising your hand in a classroom and reciting in the class, then maybe do it. Or maybe go up to your crush and say hi for the first time. Challenge yourself. So, kaya lang naman tayo dumarating sa puntong challenge because all the other 4 prior steps have been taken care of. Mahirap mag-challenge kung ang kanilang inaayos muna ay kanyang health. Hindi mo ako mahamon na maging tugunan yung mga kailangan kong sa pangsarili ko. Halimbawa, ay, hindi ko naman kaya. Weak ako. May sakit ako, di ba? Or hindi ko nararamdaman na safe ang environment. Or wala ka namang in-offer na engagement opportunities. Or meron ka ngang in-offer na engagement opportunities pero it's not sustainable and I don't feel supported and I don't feel like it's a space that I can grow in. But then, and only then, we can challenge people. Tsaka natin masasabing hinahamon natin silang maging mabuti kung all the rest are taken care of. Diba? Inaayos muna natin yung higaan, tsaka natin sila imbitahing mahiga doon, or tsaka natin sila imbitahing bumangon. Diba? Mahirap gisingin, mahirap kalampagin, yung ang hinahanap muna nila ay kalusugan, kasiguraduhan, kapanatagan, laman ng tiyan, etc. So we take care of the basic things so that we can ask the higher questions. Okay, so that's what we are transitioning into. And that would mean when we talk about a whole student approach, we look at healthies, we look at their health, their safety, engagement, support, and challenge. In other words, we look into the many aspects of student life. But the caveat here is we need to attend to the stragglers. We don't adapt in the same space. Hindi tayo humahakbang sabay. Sabi nila, we're in the same boat. No, we're not in the same boat. We're in the same ocean, but some are on a yacht and some are on a creaky bamboo raft. Hindi pareho ang ating sinasakyan. Tanggapin natin. And so therefore, kailangang sabay-sabay nating unawain at intindihin lahat ng mga kasama natin, mga kapwa nating estudyante. When we invite them to engage, not everyone is gonna show up every day right away. We have to allow time for the left behind, for the stragglers, for those who are struggling with just coping with the everyday life. When we talk about whole student approach, it also means all parts of the process. May mga nahihirapang, may mga early adopters, of course, di ba? Yung mga agad-agad, kaya. May mga iba na nahihirapan. So, patience, a wide sense of understanding and compassion, but also empathy and allowing ourselves to step into their shoes. And that's what leadership is all about. Leadership is seeing something wonderful and then making sure that everyone may be able to stand where you're standing so they too can see what you're seeing. And therefore, maisabay mo sila sa isang bagong umaga. At kung hindi nila kayang tumayo kung saan ka nakatayo, puntahan sila sa kanilang kinatatayuan at samahan silang umakbang. That's what leadership is all about. Hindi lang naghihintay sa kinatatayuan mo. Kung hindi, bagkus, puntahan sila sa kanilang tinatayuan at sabayan silang tumindig. All right. In this aspect, no, I'm in the third part of my presentation, we need to be able to look into the lessons of the pandemic, because if we're going to move forward and to transition into our hybrid life or into our flex, in Ateneo we have the high flex, hybrid pero flexible, ayan. So high flex life. We need to ask what were the lessons that the pandemic taught us or is continuously teaching us. The pandemic revealed so many gaps in the way we do things, but it has also revealed so many affirmations. And for that, I have 5 questions that I'm hoping you to answer on your own. You don't have to answer it today, but hopefully when you go home tonight and you open your journals or when you blog or when you do something, you write, try to answer these questions, these 5 questions, so that you too can mine the lessons from the pandemic. Para it does not go to waste. You know, tragedy is not when history repeats itself. The real tragedy is when it repeats and we don't know what lessons it has taught us, and so therefore we commit the same mistakes again. Uulit naman talaga siguro ang mga bagay na nangyari sa nakaraan, especially if you have not learned I'm a big believer in recurrence of the unlearned. If you have not learned your lesson, it might happen again. It will happen again. It's okay. The sad part is when it's happening again and it has not taught you the lessons that you're supposed to learn. Diba? Kung umulit man, sige, hayaang umulit. Pero it now has to be brought to a level of new learning, new insights, and new strategies. Okay. So 5 questions, diba? What was affirmed? What did the pandemic affirm? Ano ba ang kanyang tinuro sa atin at pinapatotohanan? Okay. The pandemic confirmed our suspicions about resilience, agility, strength of spirit. What has been affirmed in you? Nalaman mo na kaya mo pala talaga, di ba? Parang break up na ulit. Ano ba ang inaffirm ng hiwalayan sa iyo? Nakipaghiwalay tayo sa virus, nakipaghiwalay tayo sa pandemic. Anong itinuro nito sa iyo? What has been affirmed? Second, what was renewed in you? Ibig sabihin, what's the silver lining? What was the impact that the pandemic brought your relationships, your activities, the society in general, our culture, and even your ambitions? What has been renewed? Nagbago ba ang paniniwala mo? Na-refresh ba yung pagtiwala mo sa kapwa-tao? Na-renew ba yung relationships mo sa pamilya? Na-strengthen ba yung pananampalataya mo sa Diyos? In other words, ano ang mas tumatag? Ano ang mas tumindi? Ano ang mas lumalim? Okay. Third, what was debunked? Ibig sabihin, because of the pandemic na lang, ano yung dating alam mong totoo, hindi na totoo ngayon. Meron ba? What is no longer true after 2 years in the pandemic? Hindi ko yan sasagutin for you because gusto ko madaanan nyo sa inyong proseso. That's part of the transition. You have to painfully face the mirror and tell yourself the things that are no longer true. Hindi na totoo sa'yo. Okay? And then, fourth, what was reinvented? what no longer works but has been reimagined, reinvented, repurposed. Di ba? Biglang after the pandemic, marunong ka nang maggupit sa sarili mo. Ayan. Marunong ka nang magluto, marunong ka nang maglaba, etc. Marunong yung kwarto mo, ibang space na siya ngayon, pwede na siyang social media space kung saan ka nagba-vlog, etc. Ano yung mga na-reinvent? Na-reinvent mo yung sarili mo, gusto mo na mag-shift to a new career, na bago yung mga pangarap, etc. What has been reimagined, reinvented, and repurposed? And then final question, what was revealed? Ano ang ipinakita ng pandemic sa'yo? The pandemic did not change us. It merely revealed us. Diba? Hindi tayo binago, ipinakita lang kung ano talaga ang tunay na tayo, kung sino talaga ang tunay na tayo. Ganon din naman yung ang metaphor na ginagamit ko ay break up. People don't change, they are merely revealed. Diba? Pag nag-aaway yung magsyota, sinasabi, nagbago ka na. Alam mo, hindi naman talaga ako nagbago eh. Nakilala mo lang ako ng lubusan. In other words, when you told me that you love me, you should have known that part of saying you love me is saying yes to whoever I will become, in a sense that you will get to know me more. Pag sinabi mong mahal mo isang tao, dapat mahalin mo rin ang sino pang posibleng makilala mo siya. Diba? Marami ka pang hindi kilala tungkol sa kanya. At sa sarili natin, after the pandemic, it has revealed many aspects of who we are. And sabi ni Pope Francis, sabi niya, the pandemic revealed what we value. So ang tanong ko sa inyo, what do you value? Because the pandemic showed us what's important, ibig sabihin, anong ipinakitang mahalaga ng pandemic sa iyo? Okay. To close, I'm on the last part of this presentation, no? And I'll just have a few items moving forward because this talk is lessons from the pandemic, how to reinvent our habits as we move towards face-to-face and hybrid way of life, hybrid learning. So first, maybe we need to assess our strategies, our interventions, the way we live our life. There are 4 questions I want you to ask as you transition to a new normal, as you transition to a hybrid form of life. First, tanungin mo sa sarili mo, tanungin mo sa mga organizations mo, sa mga relationships mo, what must remain purely remote? Because there are things that we have learned is better online, better when it's technology-driven, better when it's technology-assisted. So what must remain purely online? What must remain purely remote, away from face-to-face? Second, what must remain remote but has to be accompanied with an on-site component? Yung it will remain online pero it will also have an on-site component. Yung hybrid na tinatawag natin. Third, what must remain fully or what must return fully on-site? Mga bagay na nakagawian na natin gawin online in the last 2 years of the pandemic but now must fully return on-site. You have to answer yourself. You have to address it in yourself. What must return fully on-site? Maybe because it has something to do with culture and gathering of people and warmth and personal touch, etc., etc. So it has to return fully online. And fourth question, what must return on-site but must keep and continue having an online or a remote component? So ibabalik natin siya online pero papanatilihin pa rin natin na meron pa rin siyang online at remote component. So those are 4 questions that you may ask in terms of your strategy. My final point is my MVP point. Ayan. And I don't know if you're familiar, maybe the business students who are studying startup business ideas, you're familiar with MVP or the minimum viable product. Okay. What is the minimum viable product? It's a development concept. It's a startup concept that's popularized by Eric Ries and from his startup organization. Minimum viable product is a development technique or a development concept in which a new product is developed with sufficient features enough to satisfy early adopters and validate a product idea. In other words, may gagawin ka, okay, at talagang ibibigay mo na sa lahat ng pwedeng market ng product na yon. But the main point of that is hindi income or kita agad, but rather to research and get feedback on the product, to validate your idea so you can possibly iterate and improve it. Okay? Halimbawa, Amazon, Jeff Bezos, before Amazon is the Amazon that we know now, diba, it was a book organization that you can order books online. For every book that Amazon got as an order that dinideliver nila, Jeff Bezos ordered once. Every time may dinideliver, nag-order siya ng isa. That became the entire concept of the entire Amazon system set up right now. Or Airbnb, for example, the founders of Airbnb initially just asked people in the Bay Area who are willing to lease their rooms in their house or even their entire houses to people who might be interested in booking rentals of homes outside the hotel concept. And that's how Airbnb came up. Diba? And so, why am I talking about minimum viable product? Because as we are transitioning into a new normal, into a better normal, and as we are trying to adjust in this adjustment period, we are piloting things and we are trying to form habits. And meaning, we need to gain understanding about everyone's interest in what we're trying to show them, what we're trying to tell them, before fully developing habits and products. In other words, nagre-research tayo, but instead of just doing evaluation forms and telling people about our idea, we iterate and prototype. In other words, we actually go into the world, and the invitation is, huwag matakot na sumubok, gumawa, at to interact with people already. Meaning, we need to validate our premise prior to full work and budget commitment. If there's one thing we learned from the pandemic is that anything, anytime can disrupt our processes, and that would mean problema sa budget and problema sa commitment. So the invitation for you is to find your MVP. In other words, find your courage to start doing something, offering something to the world, a new habit, a new energy. By doing these few things, and I'm now on my three last slides. First, ito na, iwan ko na lang na advice in transitioning, learning from the pandemic. First, study your own experience. Read up on other people's experience. How did the pandemic shape people? How did the pandemic shape you? What does it tell you about your own resilience, your motivations, etc.? So in other words, reflect, discern. Maganda yung title ng iisipin nyo ngayon, Cannonball, because the cannonball that hit St. Ignatius allowed him to slow down, lie down, and convalesce with the books available in that room, at nakapag-discern siya. And so therefore, the pandemic was some sort of a cannonball that hit us. And now, let's use that cannonball to find time to discern of how the pandemic shaped us. Second, chart your journey and track your narrative. Paano ka hinubog? Isulat mo. What are the things that you consider milestones, quick wins? How are you now becoming motivated to do certain things? Nagbago ba yung mga pangarap, mga ninanais, etc.? Track your narrative. Sino ka na ba ngayon? Try to introduce yourself again to friends. Baka may nagbago in terms of how the pandemic changed you. Thirdly, use technology. If there's one thing we learned from the pandemic, it's that technology is very much a big help in our life. Life now, the fourth industrial revolution, it's now a heavily technology-assisted and technology-driven world. Wag matakot sa teknolohiya. And finally, share your story. I think we all have stories to tell. Lahat tayo may kwento. Kaya nga, ang ganda ng hello sa Pilipino, sa Filipino, di ba? Yung pangangamusta, di ba? We don't say, uy, hello. We say, uy, kumusta? Kumusta is an invitation to ask you how you are. Immediately, we don't just say hello. We immediately ask, kumusta ka? How are you? And that's an invitation to share your story. Aim to engage, aim to enrich people with your experience. In other words, build relationship. The key to transitioning is to take care of the relationships as we go along. And how are we going to do that? At the end of the day, what is the MVP all about? What's the minimum viable product? It's simply a challenge for you to do things so that you can be able to show people the consequence of saying yes. That's what leadership is all about. That's what transitioning is all about. That's what minimum viable product is all about. That's the biggest lesson of the pandemic, that we are now being challenged to show people and explain to them the consequence of saying yes. Para kang nagbebenta ng bahay. Hindi mo binibenta ang bahay dahil sa ganda ng mga tiles or mga muebles. Binibenta mo ang bahay by telling them of what kind of lifestyle they will have if they will live in that house. In other words, it's one thing to bring people to where you're standing, but it's another thing to show them what you're looking at. At the end of the day, the challenge of transition, the biggest lesson of the pandemic, is to show the consequence of saying yes. Paano pag pumayag? Paano pag okay? Fear will always tell you what if it doesn't work. But courage will always say, what if it does? What if it does? So dare mighty things, huwag mo itanong kung mahirap, itanong mo kung mahalaga. Kasi ang mahirap, kung mahalaga, kinakaya, pinapangarap, pinapanindigan. Maraming salamat, and I hope you learned something from today's session.
All right. Thank you so much, Sir Tats, for that very informative and empowering talk. Surely po, everyone na part na event na to ay may natutunan na valuable information na pwede nilang mati-utilize in their future affairs. Especially now, we are still in the middle of the pandemic po. So, yan, guys. Sabi nga ni Sir Tats, move on na sa mga ex. So, yan, thank you again for that, Sir Tats. Ngayon naman, I know that everyone had a great experience for our webinar today. But before we proceed with the open forum, let's have a quick game muna in which you will win a prize para naman ma-break ang ice natin at marami ang mag-participate sa ating open forum later. So moving along, Tech Team, let's present the PowerPoint, please. Okay, ayan na. Thank you for that, Tech Team. The game is called Guess the Gibberish. Okay, the mechanics would be a gibberish will be flashed on the screen po. And the first participant to type the code in the Zoom chat box after I say go will be the one to guess. And the participant must unmute their mic to state the actual word or phrase from the gibberish presented in 5 seconds only. And the first participant to guess the right gibberish wins. Siyempre, once your name po is called, baka naman pwede kaming patingin ng beautiful or handsome face nyo. So, are you guys ready? Papunta na tayo sa exciting part. So, comment let's G in our chat box if ready na kayo or kaya thumbs up na lang sa ating reaction. So, yan, ang dami ng ready, guys. Okay, we'll have first our trial round. Okay, ready na ba? Ang dami ng ready. Thank you guys for commenting. Okay, trial round. Guess the gibberish, own, lane, me, thing. Again, own, lane, me, thing. And the code is ACP 2022. Again, itatype niyo yung ACP 2022 mamaya. Mamaya pa. Mamaya. Guys, kalma. Okay. In 3, 2, 1, go! Okay, grabe ang bibilis. On my record, ang nagsunod sa ating mechanics after I say go is Sephora Brittany Sumagid. Okay, Sephora, are you here? Are you here?
Ate.
Hello.
Good afternoon po.
So, ayan. Okay, can you turn on your camera if
Ay, ate,
very challenging. Trial round pa lang to. Okay, what's the word, Sephora?
The word po is online meeting.
Ayan, you're correct. So yan, thank you, Sephora. Very pretty. Online meeting ang ating word. So guys, trial round pa lang yan ha. Let's go to the real deal. Again, after sa pagsunod ng mechanics, after ko mag-say ng go, kayo magko-comment kung ano yung code na nakalagay doon sa ating Guess the Gibberish. Okay? And tech team, next slide po sa ating ano. Guys, exercise muna. Exercise muna tayo. And follow natin ang mechanics natin. Okay? Ready? Charot. Joke lang. So, guess the gibberish. Guess the gibberish. Face to face cool laces. Okay, guys. Face to face cool laces. And the code is HYBR1D. Ang hirap, no? Okay, in 3, 2, 1, go! Ang dami. Wait lang, I'll be asking help sa ating staff. Guys, sino yung nauna? Kasi hindi ko na ang bibilis niya mag-type. Ang bibilis niya mag-type. Wait lang. Ayon. From Go ni Ate Sai. Kasi si Ate Sai is our staff. From Go, Abigail Bazar. Abigail Bazar? Abby, are you here?
Hello po. Yes,
Hello. So what's the word? Ano yung Ano yung guess the gibberish natin?
Face-to-face classes po.
Face-to-face classes. Ang galing. Congrats. So, nanalo ka ng ating prize and we'll contact you later to claim the prize. Para ma-claim mo naman. Okay, guys. On to the next na tayo. This, unfortunately, this would be our last, parang last gibberish to, kaya grab the opportunity na ha. Mga competitive tayo. So, okay. Guess the gibberish. Wait lang. Parang nagkakaroon tayo ng technical difficulty and it says daw na it says na end na tayo. End na yung game. So, yung nanalo kanina si Abby, congratulations. Congratulations, brave soul. So, we will just send you a personal message regarding on how to claim your prize. So, congrats and thank you very much for your active participation, everyone. So, ngayon guys, na lang. Bawi na lang tayo sa interaction natin sa open forum kasi nandito na tayo sa most anticipated part of this session. So, we encourage you po to share your thoughts which can be in the forms of questions, sharing of insights, or realizations. So, to facilitate our open forum, kindly click na lang yung ating raise hand button and wait for your name to be called before unmuting to speak. Pwede nyo rin gamitan yung ating Google form na sinend ni Ate Sai sa Zoom chats box and I will read them for you so the speaker can address it po. So, okay. While you are constructing your questions and messages, let us welcome our first reactor for this webinar, Miss Jasmine L. Baguio. So, hi, Jas. Are you here ba?
Yes po, I'm here.
Hello.
Hi, Ate Jackie.
Hello. So, yeah. What's your reaction or kung meron ka bang questions sa ating speaker?
Actually, wala naman akong question. Pero, just gonna share my insights na lang about the talk and what Sir Tats talked about kanina. For me, this talk validated a lot of notions and feelings that I experienced in the past 2 years of transitioning. Because before transition, of course, we should have acknowledgement, just like Sir Tats said kanina. Acknowledgement that there is a need to transition and adjust. Like the parallelism with your ex, for example, it's time. You need to acknowledge that it's over. It's time to move forward from where you have been, parang ganon. And upon acknowledging, it should be matched together with the willingness to accommodate new experience. While in the process of acknowledgement, feeling discomfort is normal naman, di ba? Discomfort is normal, and because discomfort is also a sign of potential growth. For us to grow and be able to be courageous in learning and experiencing new horizons. When we transition, just like Sir Tats said kanina, it's a challenge for yourself. It's something that is unknown. So fear is normal because it equates to growth. Moreover, it's okay if you're progressing slow because small progress is still a step to transition. So baby steps is very much validated and is acknowledged because that is also equivalent to growth and transition. Moreover, sir, thank you for reminding us that um, we need to understand everyone's time to adjust because we should just like Sir Tats said kanina, we have to acknowledge that we are not on the same boat. We are on the same ocean but not on the same boat. Some people are on a yacht and some people are on a bamboo creek or what have you, diba? So we should understand that everyone has a different time in adjusting. So yeah. So let's respect each other's time in adjusting, di ba? Moreover, everyone's coping mechanisms because everyone has different coping mechanisms. Like for example, if in the pandemic your coping mechanism was to gain weight or exercise or start a business or what have you, we should respect each and everyone's progress. Or if your progress is focusing on your mental health, that is very much okay. I want to end my insight with the quote that Sir Tat said kanina. The pandemic did not change us. It revealed what really is in front of us, who we really are. And that is something that really struck me the most because, of course, every one of us has like different personalities naman, di ba? Or this pandemic really what do you call this, outed who we really are. It made us learn more about ourselves. So yeah, thank you, Sir Tats, for reminding us that those particular insights. So yeah, thank you po, Ate Jackie.
Thank you
Thank
for
you, Jazz.
that touching
Uh,
insights, Jazz. So,
um,
Sir Tats, would you like to respond po to that insight?
yes, maraming salamat, Jazz. Salamat sa napakalalim na pag-unawa mo dun sa pinag-usapan natin ngayong hapon. I'm very happy to hear that you were able to relate and you're able to process it within yourself. I was just merely stating things that we already know, but I'm glad that you're able to find words all throughout the talk that are resonating with your own personal experience. And tama ka, no? Mahalaga talaga na maunawaan natin that we all move in a different time and we have different pace in terms of moving forward. So, kanya-kanyang ritmo, kanya-kanyang kumpas, pero lahat tayo makakarating. Naka-mute po kayo, Ate Jackie.
Okay. Sorry po for that. Again, thank you so much for that, Sir Tats. Now, may I call in the second reactor, Miss Bea Bianca B. Obieto? Bianca, are you here?
Hi, yes po. Am I audible
Ayan.
po?
Hi, Bea. So, care to share your insight or question to Sir Tats?
Okay, sige po. Hello and good afternoon to everyone in the meet right now, especially to our research speaker today, Mr. Ralph Jacinto Quiblat. My name is Bea Bianca Biabiada, second year BS Psychology student, and today I'll be giving my reaction to today's webinar. The pandemic has really taken a toll on all of us, especially in our education, seeing as we had to adapt to an online setup to pursue our academic endeavors. Now that we are slowly inching towards a revival of the face-to-face classes, starting with the hybrid classes, this topic that you, Sir Tats, had presented to us becomes even more relevant. I found what you had said about transition really meaningful because I know that there are a lot of people that really struggled with transitioning into face-to-face activities just as much as they did transitioning to online activities in the start of the pandemic. Just as people are settling into the online classes and getting the hang of it, we are suddenly shoved back again into a new way of life where we are back to physically going to places and meeting up with people after having minimal interaction for the past 2 to 3 years. It feels kind of a roller coaster in that way. With that all said, I would like to ask actually 2 questions to our speaker. As I have mentioned earlier, there have been minimal interaction between people these past 2 to 3 years, which for some people resulted in a struggle in engagement with others, especially in a setting with many people, or worst case scenario, total disconnection from other people. My question is, do you have any concrete tips to help students to better engage and socialize with their fellow classmates during face-to-face classes and reconnect with old friends that they might have disconnected with during the pandemic? Additionally, my second question is, the pandemic has been a time when people have really struggled to find motivation. I myself have fallen victim to this. Now that we need to be waking up again each day and going to places physically, my question is, what would you say are some ways in which we can find some motivation to get us through this time? Again, thank you so much to our speaker for dedicating his time and effort into sharing this very informative and enlightening talk with us. I really appreciated it, sir.
Okay,
Thank
thank you
you.
for that, Sir Bea. Sir Tats, would
Yes.
you like to respond to that question po?
Thank you, Bea Bianca. Ang ganda naman ng pangalan mo. Salamat for your kind words and for that very elaborate sharing of your thoughts. On your first question, I personally am one of those people. Ako yung example. Prior to the pandemic, I don't know if you know your MBTIs or your Myers-Briggs personality. Prior to the pandemic, I was a proud ENFP. I was an extrovert. And then somehow, without me realizing, I was taking the tests all throughout the year, and just recently, the other day. And lo and behold, this is the 4th test that I took that it gave me an INFP. So kahit nga hindi pa naman ako naniniwala, maybe I'm ambivert because I used to be an extrovert, and now suddenly I'm enjoying introverted activities. I don't like interacting with people. I like to stay in my own space, etc., etc. So I don't know if I have always been this person, and that the pandemic has revealed that I'm truly an introvert. No, like I said, people never change; they are merely revealed. So na-reveal na out yung pagka-introvert ko. But maybe on certain occasions, I still enjoy a good company, and certain occasions, I still enjoy being the quote-unquote life of the party. But on your question on tips on how to assimilate again to the society, para tayong nag-zombie apocalypse, no? Tapos ngayon, binuksan na ulit at biglang pwede na ulit mag-hangout. Ang sagot ko dyan ay everything you need to learn, you learn from kindergarten, gaya ng libro. I don't know if you're familiar with that book. If you're not, then maybe you can go to your library or search everything I learned from kindergarten. Babalikan natin yung unang araw mo na pumasok sa eskwelahan. Babalikan natin yung araw mong excited ka, bumili ka ng bag, bumili ka ng mga notebook, ball pens, papel, etc. Excited ka. But pagdating mo sa classroom, hinahanap mo yung kamay ng nanay mo, or lumilingon-lingon ka for familiar eyes, familiar smile, reaffirming presence of your kung sino man ang naghatid sa'yo sa school. Di ka nagsasalita kung hindi tinatanong, etc. That is actually the very same idea of us going back again. Because a lot of us have become comfortable already with just our circle. Pamilya lang kasama, dalawa lang kayo sa bahay, o tatlo or apat na kayo lang ng 2 taon. Can you imagine? For 2 years, it's just you and everyone else is on the other side of the screen. So it's really not surprising that people are now learning and relearning again how to interact with people, how to smile to people, how to strike up a conversation. And for me, there's some magic in that because it's part of a process of relearning our humanity. Nung mga panahong hindi pa natin kayang imaniobra ang mundo, yung pagpasok natin our first day in kindergarten or preschool or grade 1, yung puno ka pa ng excitement at the same time pangamba. But that's what life is all about. It's the world will not change where you are. It will change where you decide to go. So, well, on the other hand, mayroon din namang katotohanan sa bloom where you are planted. But nevertheless, I would encourage you to go out there and seek out your people, seek out your tribe, relearn what it is that made you friends with the people you call friends. And ang maganda nun is hindi tayo mauubusan ng mga bagay na ibabahagi sa bawat isa. Even if we have been talking to friends every day online, it's still different when we see each other face to face and we hang out. May katahimikan sa paghaharap-harap na naiintindihan natin kahit hindi naman tayo nag-uusap, di ba? So, i-recapture natin ulit yun. Recapture the narrative of our friendships, recapture the narrative of our relationships, etc. Nakakatakot, pero kung nakaya mo sa kindergarten, kaya mo ngayon. Doon sa pangalawa mong tanong, nawawalan ng motivation, it happens in so many levels and so many aspects. It happens when you wake up and you're no longer as excited to do the things that you've always loved doing. You lost that hop, skip, and jump to the things that you want to do. May mga umaga talagang not like the others. Okay. And so what do we do on those days? Sa akin, tatlong bagay. The things that give us life and the things that give us motivation are always, for me, at least in my own opinion, three things. Either of the three things. Meaning, learning, or laughter. We are motivated by either of the three or all of the three. Minsan, what animates our everyday is the joy of seeking meaning, finding out what things mean, anong ibig sabihin. And I like that in Filipino, meaning translates into three words. One is kahulugan, di ba? How things fall into place, di ba? So, nahuhulog yung mga bagay. So, find that, how things fall into place in your life. But meaning is also ibig sabihin. What do you want to say? And so motivation could actually be finding your voice and finding that which you want to share with the world. If you could tell the world just one thing, what would it be? Diba? So meaning could translate as kahulugan, meaning could translate as ibig sabihin, but meaning could also translate into saysay. Diba? Saysay or sense. So maybe one of the motivations that you could find is how things make sense to you. Does it make sense for you to wake up in the morning and feed the children? Does it make sense for you to water the plant? Does it make sense for you to continue studying and do all your best to be able to pass your subjects? You know, that's one motivation. But it's not always all those things. Sometimes motivations could just come from the things that allow us to learn. Di ba? Minsan nawawalan tayo ng gana kasi parang hindi na ako natututo. Di ba? Parang wala nang bago. Ayan. Or parang paulit-ulit na lang araw-araw. So in other words, try to find areas and new avenues for you to learn something new. Baka kaya ka nawawalan ng motivation kasi nasa isang lugar ka o espasyo na hindi ka na tumutubo. And just like plants, pag hindi na sila tumutubo, hinahanap nila lagi kung nasaan ang araw. Diba? That's why they always move towards the direction of the light. And so my invitation to you is, magpaaraw ka, find the light. Minsan, nawawala ka ng gana kasi hindi ka na naaarawan. Lagi kang nasa dilim. Di ba? Tumindig at magsilbing liwanag sa dilim. Pangatlo, minsan hindi naman kailangang learning or meaning yung motivation na hinahanap natin. Minsan, fun. Minsan, laughter lang talaga. Walang ibang malalim dahilan. Hindi na ako masaya. Di ba? Sa mga nawawalan ng motivation, it's either of those three things. Di ba? It doesn't make sense. I don't grow. Or I'm not happy anymore. It's also the same three things why we find our relationships not life-giving anymore. Minsan, nag-i-end ang relationship, nananabang, kumbaga, matabang na. Di ba? Cold na tayo sa relationship. Kasi hindi na yung natutugunan yung pangangailangan natin ng meaning, learning, and laughter. Wala nang saysay, kahulugan, at ibig sabihin, hindi na tayo natututo at hindi na tayo masaya. But for you to start gaining back the motivation, try finding out which among those things are happening to you. Hindi ka na ba masaya? Then find and go back to the things that make you happy. Hindi ka ba natututo? Then find new things that will teach you new skills. Learn, read a book, attend a class, go to a webinar, di ba? Go watch a YouTube video, etc. Learn a new hobby. Or is it because you don't find sense into things, you don't find meaning into things? Then that will require a lot of discernment. What makes things make sense for you? Because if things no longer make sense for you, then that's when the devil becomes very, very active. Di ba? Doon na siya naghahanap ng dahilan na hindi ka na niya pagiging excited, tinatamad ka na sa mga bagay, etc. Gusto mo nang lumayas, maghiwalay na tayo, nang-aaway ka na, lagi ka nang galit, etc. etc. So it's not that you're lazy. It's just that sometimes the devil has found its way inside you and it's now playing on your fears. So be very careful. And so for those who are looking for motivation, look for those three things. Why? Is it meaning, learning, or laughter?
Okay, thank you so much for that, Sir Tats. That was very touching po. And thank you also for your insights, Jazz and Bea. Ngayon naman po, we will
Salamat, Jazz
now...
and Bea. Those were
Yes
very,
po.
very good. Thank you for those sharing. Maraming salamat.
So, ngayon po, we will now entertain the questions po from our Zoom and YouTube audience. And ngayon po, si Rick po, nag-raise po siya ng hand. Rick, are you here po?
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello,
Am I
good
audible?
afternoon.
Hi, Rick.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes po.
Yes, go
Loud and
ahead.
clear po.
Can you see me, guys? Can you see me? All right.
Kita namin yung
So
sahig
I have a
mo.
question. Thank you for. Oops. Sorry. All right. I think I'll just do it this way.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So thank you for entertaining my question. So I'm speaking on behalf as a parent. So this time is a parent perspective. Okay. Kasi most of our audiences here are like student. So I'm a student as well, but I'm also speaking as a parent. So my question is really more on for someone like us who have some kind of a pushback in this kind of transition. Reason being is that because honestly, the pandemic gives more benefits in us than a disaster. In terms of family bonding. Why? Because nagkaroon kami ng chance na maging sama-sama every day, makain every day. I can look at my children, how they are coping, and then I find it very easy to see how it's working well. I invested to my infrastructure para everything smooth. And then, and now it's happening. The transition of going back to face-to-face is coming back. And I have some kind of pushback on it. Why? Because in my honest opinion, I prefer my children being at home. Because kasi I'm still not really sure if the Ateneo itself is capable already to do the face-to-face. I mean, can we ensure that yeah, my children are going to be safe? If it is, then yeah, then I'll give my trust on Ateneo on that. But yeah, so having said that, I need some kind of an advice on how can I explain this to my wife para masabi ko sa kanya na, hey, look at this. This is going to be the new normal. It's going to be a half-half, face-to-face, and then maybe online. So maybe soon, maybe after a year, it will become face-to-face again. So we have to be ready. So it's just a matter of like, what kind of advice do you think I can tell my wife for her to accept the fact that it's coming back to the previous situation? Yeah, that's my question.
Right. Thank you, Rick. I'm very glad that we have a parent in the audience, and we have a perspective from someone who's who had the experience of raising children and being with family all throughout the pandemic. And I agree with you, no? The pandemic has renewed a lot of family relationships, and it has created new spaces for families to bond together, to be together, and to understand each other. And if the world prior to the pandemic did not allow them to be in this tight kind of relationship, the pandemic did that. You know, probably families now are starting to eat dinner together and, you know, wake up with one another, etc., etc. And I agree with you. The pandemic is working for us as parents. It's working for us in a way that our children are there. We can monitor them. They're arm's length away. We can just go to their room. We don't need to worry about where they are, what time will they come home, and are they safe, etc., etc. And so, with your question on how to probably convince your wife that this is the new normal and that we need to embrace a new kind of lifestyle, I also get that question a lot from the parents. As the director of OSA in the schools in Ateneo de Manila, I also get that question from parents asking, "Sir, is it safe for me to start allowing my children to go back on campus, etc.?" The Ignatian principle of tantum quantum works here, because St. Ignatius has taught us the idea of tantum quantum. Insofar as, what does that mean? Insofar as nakikitaan mo that it helps you, may mapupulot ka at may kabutihang dulot sa'yo, gawin mo. Okay? This would mean research on our part and on your part on how to respond to the 5 aspects I shared with you earlier. The very first thing is health. That's the first on our checklist. In Loyola schools in Ateneo de Manila, we have a self-assessment checklist. And first on that checklist is, healthy ba ang lahat? Kaya ba ng lahat na pumasok? Kaya ba ng lahat na gumising sa umaga, tugunan ang hamon ng panibagong pamumuhay sa mundong hybrid, sa mundong bumabalik sa on-site, sa mundong nagsusumikap ibalik ang nakaraang pamamaraan ng pamumuhay. So that would be first. If all of your boxes are checked, healthy kayong lahat, wala kayong problema, and hindi lang healthy, kung hindi, natutugunan din yung pangangailangan ng vulnerability. In other words, if any one of you will get sick, you can easily have access to things that will cure you and restore your health, then walang problema. So doon muna, I guess, pag-usapan sa buong pamilya, how we can maintain that sense of health and everyone's healthy status. Second is how to create structures and systems within your family and in your relationships on safety. Sa amin, sa pamilya namin, nag-meeting, parang now that the world is opening up again, we have to have protocols at home. We have to have, because we have people with comorbidities and etc., etc. So we have to have safety protocols even at home that are self-imposed, etc. And only then, when we have addressed the healthy and safety concerns, can we talk about how do we allow ourselves to participate again in engaging with the world. Okay. So doon muna pag-usapan. Minsan, okay, 20% lang muna, like what IATF is doing, no? 20% lang muna of venue capacity. Baka kayo yan sa pamilya ninyo. Meron din ganong mga protocols. Okay, hindi muna kung lalabas tayo, dapat maximum, mga 2 hours lang, balik na agad, etc. Actually, at the end of the day, us on the university side, maybe Ateneo de Naga, us in Ateneo de Manila, all we can do is exercise due diligence to make sure that health, safety, all these things, regulations from the IATF, the DOH, and the local government are fulfilled. We get permits, we get accreditations, we get surveys and visits from all these accrediting bodies and all these health and protocol assurance bodies to make sure that we do our part on our end. But still, at the end of the day, the decision is on the parents, the decision is on the family. And that has to be a decision that you have to make on your own. We cannot make that decision for you because at the end of the day, you will have to take care. Kayo ang mas nakakakilala sa inyong pamilya. And I would have to agree with you. Kung sa tingin ninyo nakabuti sa pamilya, it help you become a better family. Maybe there are lessons that you can learn from the pandemic that you can adapt as the family slowly opens up to the whole world. But like I said, iba-iba tayo ng pace. Yung iba, biglang nag-mall na agad, iba nag-outing na agad. Well, some of us, ayaw pa rin, mag-grocery nga, isang tao pa rin talaga, etc. So, we're not moving in the same rhythm, we're not moving in the same pace. And we respect that. It's your decision, it's your family's life, it's your family's health. But we would like to assure you that the moment you decide to engage with us, we can assure you that we have done the healthy and safety protocols necessary on our end to make sure that we are one in mission and we are one in goal to continue with our mission of education while responding to the challenges of the pandemic. So, kailangan natin magtulungan both the university side, the education side, and the parents kasi kailangan hawak kamay tayo sa prosesong ito. Maraming salamat. Salamat, Rick, sa perspective mo from a parent's point of view.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rick.
Maraming salamat po for that, Sir Tats, and Sir Rick po for your question. Now, we have here questions po from our Google Forms. And the first question is, what do you think po should the newly elected president focus on in our education sector given our pandemic situation? So, should I, repeat po? Or
Hindi ko alam na contestant pala ako sa Miss Universe.
candidate number one.
Napakahirap mong tanong. Salamat sa napakahirap mong tanong. Hindi ko pinangarap kailanman na maging Pangulo ng Pilipinas. But if I were given the chance to have that opportunity, I would probably start with education. And I would probably start with looking at our schools. I would probably start with going into what research is available. There are a lot of research that will inform us of the state of our education, the state of our teachers, the state of our schools, both the physical spaces and the mental spaces that we bring our students in. And I will talk to a lot of teachers because in the same manner that we need to elect an official that has experienced the things that we have experienced, naniniwala ako na kailangan ang Pangulo natin commuter. Kailangan ang Pangulo natin dumadana sa mga bagay na nararanasan natin because ang hirap mag-legislate, ang hirap gumawa at mag-approve ng mga batas na ang pinanggagalingan mo lang ay teorya. So kailangan mong kumausap ng mga tao sa laylayan. And on the education level, I would talk to teachers, I would talk to parents, I would talk to various sectors who are handling parents and students themselves. You know what? A lot of our youth today, they have so much to say. A lot of our youth today have so much things written in their thesis, in their research reports, in their project about education. And we have a lot of young teachers who are volunteering, who are working in public schools, even not minding the difficulty of doing such. Ang hirap maging guro. I am a product of both teachers. My parents are public school teachers at alam ko kung gaano kahirap ang pinagdadaanan nila. In my hometown, I have mga kababata, mga kababayan, mga kalaro ko dati nung bata pa ako, na guru sila ngayon sa public elementary school namin dito sa hometown. At everyday pinag-uusapan namin, naririnig ko lang sa kanila ang hirap mag-print, walang printer, walang mga papel, nung nag-module, walang mga bond paper, etc. Pinag-aagawan, etc. Yung mga papel, yung mga pencil, yung mga ballpen, etc. And even the food for children in school. So it's a multi-headed problem. But your question is, saan tayo magsisimula? Magsisimula ako sa pakikipag-usap sa mga guro. Makikipag-usap ako sa mga guro. I will probably have a lot of town hall meetings with them to be able to get first-hand information. Not so much on the agencies, but on the actual people who are in the classroom every day, who are there teaching the kids every day, to the parents who are having difficult time. To be honest, I don't know how to answer your question, but I believe that if there's anyone who can tell me what to do, it's the teachers themselves who show up in the classroom every day. So I will elect someone who is willing enough and comfortable to talk to the teachers and sit with them and walk a mile with them, to listen to their problems and take information firsthand. Ang hirap. Bagsak na ako sa Miss Universe. Hindi ako mananalo.
Okay lang, sir. Nakamay po yung kurara. Winner ka na po. Anyway, thank you again, sir, for that answer po. Meron po tayo ditong question. How can we make face-to-face and hybrid classes be more inclusive for less privileged students po?
I will speak from experience. Sa Ateneo de Manila University, I don't know, I'm not very aware of the processes na ginawa ng Ateneo de Naga. For Ateneo de Manila University and also for Ateneo de Davao, they're also there, si Bimbay. We've been sharing also, no. For Ateneo de Manila, what we did is we first did an inventory of how many of our students have access to gadgets, how many gadgets, what are their ways of using internet and gadgets at home? Do they share it? Do they have Wi-Fi? How do they connect to the internet, etc.? In other words, to get a sense of how is everyone being assisted by technology and start from there. Because the reason why a lot of people experience difficulty initially adapting to the new normal when we shifted to a remote mode of learning is not everyone had access to it, not everyone had the technology with it, and not everyone was ready for that kind of setup, because we have to accept it takes a certain kind of personality to sit in front of your computer or your cell phone or your tablet and listen to someone speak and listen to class from someone behind the screen. So it took a lot of relearning and it took a lot of getting used to. And so on one aspect, it has to be addressed in terms of availability of gadgets and everyone's access. On another aspect, it has to be accompanied with programs and support in terms of family arrangement, in terms of physical spaces. Yung iba may mga computer at internet pero walang quiet space sa bahay, for example. Or hindi confident na makinig sa klase at mag-lecture or mag-research at mag-aral because hindi ka lang estudyante ngayon. Anak ka na inuutusan or nagluluto or naglilinis or taking care of a sick family member. Kinakabahan ka pa, baka magkaroon ka ng virus, etc. In other words, you're no longer just a student focused on studying. You are also your different kind of roles in life. What the pandemic did is pinagsama-sama yung mga role natin ng sabay-sabay. Kung nagtatrabaho ka pag alas 11 na, naku, kailangan ko pang magluto, kailangan ko pang magsaing, kailangan ko pang sabay-sabay na lahat. So in other words, we need to process this experience and address it from a whole student perspective. This is what I'm saying. It has to be addressed in a whole student perspective. On one aspect, it's the gadget and access to technology. On the other aspect, it's the family situation and the family life. On another level, it's your own mental wealth, mental health and awareness, your wellness, and your mental state of being able to accept all these things that are going on. And you have to deal with all your mental stressors and your anxiety inducers, etc. So I guess a whole student approach will be very helpful to make hybrid as accessible as we want it to be.
Okay, thank you so much again, candidate number 1. So, joke lang po. Okay. For the next question po, sir, sabi niya dito, what are the things students should prepare before participating in the limited face-to-face classes, given the fact that students are still anxious in going to school po?
Again,
Mga
babalik
pang,
ako. First, check your health. Kumusta ka? Mental health, physical health, check. Dapat doon ma-check mo yon. Kasi kung doon pa lang medyo hindi tayo sigurado or may iba ka nararamdaman or gulong-gulo ka pa, etc., mahirap mag-concentrate sa klase. So address first your health concerns and get help wherever you can. Approach people, be referred to people who can help you. And then, check for safety. What will make you feel confident on going back to the classroom? What will make you become more confident in engaging with a hybrid kind of setup? And then later na yung mga tanong on how you can be more engaged, how you can be more supported, and how will you challenge yourself. But ang sagot ko dyan, how can you prepare? Gawin yung 5-way test ko. Yung health, safety, engagement, support, and challenge.
Okay, thank you po, Sir Tats, again. Ngayon naman po, for the next question, sabi niya po, how will we recognize or assess when is the best time to reset or to have an adjustment period po?
Every day. Every day is a chance to start over again. Every day is a new day. Some would even go into dividing your day into 4 parts. Morning, noon, afternoon, and then late evening. Okay? So every time you get a chance to start over, go ahead. Yung iba, bakit nila hinahati to 4 parts yung in a day? So that if you have a bad early morning, it's not a bad day. You can start over at lunch. Okay, pangit na umaga ko, sige. Starting lunch, we'll try again. You had a bad lunch, so maybe afternoon, after your nap or after your class, you'll have a good afternoon. If it's still a bad afternoon, then maybe a great dinner with family, you can have a good evening. So in other words, it's not a bad life, it's just probably a bad day. It's not even a bad day, it's just a bad 1/4 of a day. So in other words, every time you get the chance is a chance to start over and adjust and recalibrate. And kung meron kang gustong baguhin, kung kayang baguhin agad, baguhin agad. Ang rule ko dyan is if you can do it in 5 minutes, do it right away. Kung kayang gawin sa 5 minuto, gawin mo na agad. Diba? So, para nauna nang maalis yung mga bagay-bagay. Diba? So, if you can take care of it in 5 minutes, do it. And then you have less things to do in your life. But again, anytime you get a chance to wake up and take a walk and start over, that's every minute is a chance to start over again. There's no limit.
Okay, and thank you so much.
Don't be afraid to fail. Ang karamihan sa atin, takot na baka magkamali. Kasama yon, hindi ka nagkamali, nakahanap ka lang ng bagong paraan para hindi maging tama. Minsan, sumabog yung project mo. Parang, naku! Then, sabi nga ni Thomas Alva Edison, hindi 49 mistakes yon, kung hindi 49 ways of not discovering how it works. So, it's just a matter of perspective. Sorry, I'm a glass half full kind of person.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sir Tats. Tagos po yun sa puso ko kasi, takot din po ako mag-fail. So, thank you for that affirmation po na it's okay to fail. So, ngayon po, moving on to our next question po. is it possible to go back again in remote learning after transitioning to the face-to-face classes? Will the lessons be the same po?
Technically, the lessons will be the same, but a big part of the lesson is how you learn it. So if you learn it face-to-face, marami kang natututunan not just from the teacher in the classroom, but also from your interaction with your classmates, from the things that you hear in the space, yung mga pagko-commute mo, yung mga pag-interact mo sa buhay, etc., etc. But you can still go back to remote learning and learn differently. The world now offers you a lot of many other ways of learning about the world. You don't even have to travel now to go to many places in the world. Yung mga physical barriers natin, geological barriers and geographical barriers, wala na yon. You just have to log in and suddenly you can go into so many things. Just go to TikTok if you're just very critical of the things that you learn there. Ang dami-dami mong matututunan. And so, in other words, ang dami ng pwedeng paraan ng matuto. Pwede kang makinig ng podcast, pwede kang padala ng module na teacher, pwede kang umattend ng classroom, pwede kang makipag-chikahan with someone, pwede kang TikTok, merong Teach Talk, di ba? May mga teachers sa TikTok, merong Edu Talk, mga educators on TikTok, etc. You can go on YouTube or all those webinars that are free, open universities, etc. So many ways to learn. There's unlimited ways to learn. It's up to you. Whatever works for you, find what works for you, and make sure that you do something new every day. Make sure that, sabi ko kanina, it's okay to commit mistakes, it's okay to fail. Okay lang naman talaga magkamali, pero every time sana nagkakamali tayo, sana bagong pagkakamali. Ang mahirap lang is kung nagkakamali tayo pero yung pagkakamali ay paulit-ulit. I mean, it's okay to make mistakes but always strive to make new mistakes every time. Kasi kung nagkamali ka pero araw-araw paulit-ulit naman yung pagkakamali mo, ano tawag dun? Kabaliwan. Di ba? Huwag matakot na mag-fail. Kung sa bawat failure naman ay sumusubok ka ng panibagong paraan, huwag matakot na magkamali kung every time naman ay panibagong pagkakamali. Di ba? Ang hirap lang kung, di ba, pagkakamali mo na nga siya dati, sa kanya ka pa rin bumalik. Ayan, di ba? Parang hindi natuto. Ayan. So, sana matuto tayo as a people, as a world, you know. Let's learn. Let's grow. It's okay to move in circles, but sana going up and onwards.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Sir Tats. Ngayon naman po, I will be reading some of the insights that our participants sent.
Yan. Gusto ko yan. Natakot na ako sa mga tanong niyo. Ang hirap.
Oh, sir. Pang ano na po, Miss Universe na ang mga questions.
Hindi lang pang debate Pilipinas, pang Pangulo, pang ano na, Miss Universe na.
Miss Universe po. So, okay, sir. From our first insight po, the webinar encouraged me to slow down in trying to achieve my goals and dreams in life and try to enjoy every new experience that I may encounter in life. So, ang ganda po. Ang ganda ng insight niya. And ito po, next is, thank you po for the topic you presented as it was thought-provoking and is helpful in becoming a guide to see how the pandemic affected us, learnings from it, and how we can move forward despite it all. So, ayun po, sir. Ayun mga insights. And as much we would like to entertain your questions po, unfortunately, we only have limited time for the open forum. But don't worry because I think Sir Tats will still be available to cater your questions after a webinar. Is that okay po, Sir Tats?
You may find me on Twitter at tatsmenow, that's TATSMENOW. So you can just message me if you have questions or insights. I'd love to hear your insights. Or although I'm not very active on Facebook and Messenger, but you can find me on Facebook at Quiblat. So just message me or email me rquiblat@ateneo.edu. And I would love to hear your insights. It's part of what gives me joy and what gives me meaning, to surround myself with people who are in the process of finding out who they are, who their tribe is, and what they want to do in life. And I'd love to just bear witness to your process. Maraming salamat. This has been a very wonderful session. You guys are very engaging. I have been very, very thrilled listening to your questions and to your insights. Ang hirap ng mga tanong, but that's the joy of it, no? I don't have all the answers. I just put things together and facilitate learning. But it's still, the process is still in you and with you. So maraming salamat. I learned a lot and you have been my teachers as well today. So thank you very much.
And sir, we are also very grateful to you po. Napaka-dynamic mo po as a guest speaker. And thank you for sharing us your knowledge and time dito sa aming ACP webinar. So I think, that's it na for our open forum. Guys, take note na lang yung contact details ni Sir Tats if you have questions. And thank you so much for being so active and participative sa ating open forum. So ngayon naman, to show our gratitude for our resource speaker for accepting our invitation, we now present the Certificate of Appreciation with a citation. The Office of Student Affairs, Ateneo de Naga University, presents the Certificate of Appreciation to Mr. Ralph Jacinto A. Quiblat in grateful recognition of his expertise and service as resource speaker in the alternative class program Lessons from the Pandemic, Reinventing Face-to-Face Habits and Transitioning to Hybrid Learning, held on April 27, 2022. Given this 27th day of April 2022 at the Ateneo de Naga University, City of Naga, Philippines. Signed by Mr. Rodolfo S. B. Virtus Jr., Director of Student Affairs, Ms. Janet B. Badong Badilla, Executive Director for Mission and Identity, Dr. Alfredo C. Fabay, Vice President for Higher Education, and Father Roberto E. N. Rivera of the Society of Jesus University President. Once again, thank you so much, Pastor Ralph, for being part of this semester's ACP. I hope we will have you again in Ateneo, be it virtually or face-to-face po.
Yes.
Guys,
Salamat.
let us all
Maraming
give Sir
salamat.
Tats a big round of virtual applause.
Thank you,
So
guys.
thank you, guys.
Adnu. Thank you, Osa, Sir Sunny. Thank you very much for having me. It's always a delight, no, to have to be with you guys. And sana sa mga susunod na mga pagkakataon, I'll take a flight to Naga. I've only been
Yes, sir.
to Ateneo de Naga twice in my life, so maybe a third time's the charm. I would gladly be there and be with you. The Ateneo de Naga University students have always been very engaging. So maraming salamat. And all the 500 students and those who are in YouTube, this is a very big audience, and I'm so happy that this has been very successful for you guys. Congratulations, Osa. Ateneo de Naga, congratulations. Napakagaling. Idol ko kayo. Congratulations. Sir Sunny, congrats. Maraming salamat.
Thank you so much, sir. This has been a wonderful learning experience po sa amin, and we're very grateful to have you with us po. So, yun. Ayan, ang dami pong nagpapa-thank you. Thank you din, guys. Ngayon po, to our participants, I received a message that i-acknowledge po natin yung winner kanina na nanalo sa trial round, which is si Miss Sephora Britney Sumagid. So, congratulations, Sephora and Abby, you guys na lang later. So, ayan, before we end this activity, please be reminded to fill out the evaluation forms we flashed here and sent on the chat box. So, the certificate of attendance po shall only be awarded to those who accomplished the evaluation forms. May we remind everyone then to make sure that you provide the correct information on the form as it will reflect on the certificate. Again, we are very grateful for your participation po, and we hope na makita kayo ulit in the future ACP webinars and workshops. Also, we hope na nag-enjoy kayo in this webinar and actually gained insights and new learnings from it. Once again, I am Jackie Louwen Cestina, and I am honored to have been your host. So this ends our webinar on lessons from the pandemic, reinventing face-to-face habits, and transitioning to hybrid learning. Thank you for being with us, everyone, and please stay safe and healthy. Sana masarap ulam niyo later na dinner. So yan, thank you guys.
Thank you. Maraming salamat. Ingat kayo.
Thank you, sir. Ingat ka rin po. God bless po.
Thank you, Sir Tats.
Recording stopped.
Sir Tats, let's have a photo up in a breakout room with the staff, if that's okay.
Okay po, sure.
Hello, Vons. Palagay na lang kami sa breakout room.
Yep.
Yes.
Wait lang po. Medyo madami tayo. Just wait. MJ, Rosin pa.
Hi, Sir Tats. Sir Tats, are you working sa bahay or sa office
Work
ka?
from home pa rin. I'm scheduled to go back on site on May 23.
If for nag-start na yung yung face-to-face classes, hindi pa?
Yes, nag-start na kami. So, marami na actually. Pero I think 30% pa rin talaga of our capacity. Congrats sa inyo, team, ha? Congrats, Sir Sunny. This has been very wonderful.
Box
Galing,
office yung
sobra.
nyo. Box office.
Nagulat ako, ang dami. Akala ko parang mga 20, 30.
hindi klase. Hindi class. Assembly, Sir Tats.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Sa ulitin,
Thank you so
Sir
much
Tats.
po and congratulations
Yes.
po.
Sorry dahil hindi ako masyadong ma-messenger kaya late ko nakikita yung message mo.
That's okay.
Oo. Pero ayan, ino-on ko na yung aking
Oo.
notification para makita. Dami
Baka
kasi estudyante na message.
may mga upcoming invitations kami sa PAPSAS if ever.
Sige. Sure, no problem. Thank you. Congratulations.
Salamat.
Ingat kayo.
Ingat, Sir Tats.
Thank you.
Congratulations to the team.
Congratulations po, sir.
Very well done.
Thank you po. Congrats po to the team. Kay Sai, kay